Hey guys, Dr. Greg Rose here at TPI. I'm here in the biomechanics lab, but I want to talk about a video that I posted not too long ago about hip mobility. I had a lot of great feedback there saying you guys liked the video, but you said, hey, I'd like to see how to get spine mobility, right? So let's talk spine today. Now, like I talked about in the hip video, I think it's always important to make sure you attack what the problem is. And when we get to spine turn, like shoulder turn, how far you can rotate your shoulders, there's three main things that tend to restrict shoulder turn in our players. First of all, believe it or not, is rib cage. A lot of times, any type of restrictions in the rib cage can make it very hard for you to turn your thorax, right? Now, you also have tissue that wraps around your body, right? That tissue is called fascia. It's like the white part of a steak. Tissue tightness can be a huge restrictor of shoulder turn. And then the third thing would be your spine, of course, right? So your spine's a series of joints. Now, what I'd like to do to talk about on this video is I'd like to talk about the joints, right? So the rib cage and the spine are joints. And I want to put those in a bucket because anytime you go after joints, like I talked about on the hip video, is I like to distract the joint. And I showed you ways to distract the joint on the hip. I want to show you how to distract your rib cage and your spine, okay? So what you're going to need is a chair, right? Now, if you think about, let's talk about rib cage first. Now, you can do this laying down, but I'm going to show you this in a chair. Your rib cage, right, circles your entire body, right? Starts in the front, goes all the way around the back. If I want to distract your rib cage, now remember, in the joint, when you distract the joint, you're pulling it apart. When you pull it apart, you can actually increase the mobility. So I always like to distract the joint and then try and stretch the joint. You'll get more out of the mobility exercise. So how do I distract my rib cage that goes all the way around my body? Really, there's only one way to distract your rib cage, and it's breathing, right? If you take a huge breath in and try and fill your rib cage up with air, you'll actually distract all the joints. So here's one of my favorite little exercises you can do to try and get your rib cage mobility better. Okay, sit in the chair, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate and see how far I can turn, right? I always like to get like a pre-test. So I'm going to turn to the right. I'm going to go as far as I can, good? And I'm looking, if I go over here and I look to see what my shoulder's pointing at. So I start here, and I can see there's a little part on the wall over here where I'm pointing at. Now, when you can't go any farther, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you're taking the biggest breath possible. Feel like the top of your rib cage goes this way. We call it the pump handle, like one of those old water pumps. It's going to go up and back, so your rib cage expands from front to back on the top. And on the bottom of your rib cage, we call it the bucket handle. Like you're lifting a bucket handle, it expands this way. So I want you to feel like your rib cage is expanding lateral and front to back. So I'm going to turn as far as I can. I'm going to take a big breath in through my nose, and I'm trying to expand my rib cage. Distract your rib cage as much as you can. As you breathe out, see if you can turn any farther. And I'm going to do 3 breaths here. Expanding lateral. As I breathe out, I'm going to see if I can turn farther. If I can turn farther, I'm going to try and grab the back of the chair. Big breath in. Distract. And then out through your mouth, see if you can turn farther. One more time. Big breath in. As I breathe out, I'm turning farther. Now if I look, I'm like, man, I just picked up like 20, 30 degrees here. Okay? When you get to your new range of motion here, you don't own a range of motion until you can breathe in that range of motion. So I sit here and I cycle a couple breaths here. Do a couple breaths and then slowly come on back. You're going to be amazed on how much more range of motion you can get just by distracting your rib cage. Watch, I'm just going to turn to see where I'm at again, and already I feel like I can turn more. Make sure you do this in both directions. Okay, that's for your rib cage. Now, by the way, you can add that to all your exercises. You can add breathing to expand your rib cage, and you'll start turning more. Let's talk about the spine. So now you've got all these vertebrae going down your spine. I want to try and open those up as well. The good news here is lateral flexion, that's tilting to the side or side bend, is coupled with rotation. So I'm going to use a little trick here. I'm going to do some rotation, and then I'm going to distract the spine by doing some lateral bend. Take your hands, put your hands behind your head, okay? From here, I want you to rotate as far as you can. Once again, look at this elbow to see what you're pointing at. Okay, when you can't go any farther, what I want you to do is I want you to side bend. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my right elbow down. I feel like there's a spear going through my body, and I'm rotating around that spear. So I feel like my top of my rib cage is going left, my right shoulder is going down, and I'm trying to laterally flex as much as I can. This distracts the spine, especially the left side of the spine. Come back up, and now see if you can turn any farther. Right? Now if you go any farther from here, let's go ahead and do it again. We're going to distract by getting my right elbow down, trying to laterally flex, open up my spine. I'm going to come back up, and I'm going to see if I can go even farther. And you're going to see it just keeps unlocking as you do this, right? Now, if you want, you can add the breathing on top of this and it really goes crazy. So two of my favorite exercises that my players do all the time, and they do it every day, sit in a chair, you can watch TV while you're doing this, take a big breath in, expand your rib cage, turn, big breath in, turn. If you want, as you're doing each of those turns, you can add a little spine distraction. Next thing you know, you're going to be turning your shoulders like one of our PGA or LPGA Tour players. That's an easy way to get some distraction, which is going to get you more mobility in your spine.